Hey guys, Jared with 1776 Rental and Sales. Today we're going to be repairing a skid loader bucket. If you guys have looked at our website at all, you'll see that we have a fabrication and repair side to the company. And as we were out doing some business a couple of days ago, we picked up a bucket that was thrown in the scrap steel at one of the customers we were at. And so we picked it up for $50 and decided to bring it home and see what we could do as far as turning it into a viable bucket again. So as you can see, this bucket has been beat pretty good. Right here in the center where the step used to be, it's torn off. It's been welded and repaired numerous times. And this last bit of damage that's been done to it basically tore this center part out. If we take this bottom look at it here, this front edge is pretty beat. It's been pulled on, beat in. There's also some cracking going on down here in the middle of the bucket with some hairlines coming up on each side. On the back side, there's a few little spider cracking, say like right up here on the top. And then some crappy repairs made to it prior to us. Overall, if you look at this bucket, there's actually a hole in the floor where I believe someone took a breaker and was testing it out on the bucket since it was a scrap bucket. But overall, if you look at the bucket, we've hooked it onto this ASV machine, and the actual structure isn't really hurt. It sits flat to the floor. It hooked up really easy, just like any other bucket would, to this quick attach. It was latched, latched, unlatched, all that kind of stuff. So overall, I think it has good structure to it. The main structure isn't bent out of shape or warped in any way. And so what we're gonna do is try and clean this thing up and make it a good, strong bucket again. So one of the first things that we're gonna do, we're gonna take and I'm gonna tack a couple of pieces of steel here and here and use a C-clamp to bring this back close to being in line. At that point, I'll tack it here in the back to keep it from moving again. After that point, our game plan is to actually cut this front edge off all the way across the bucket. Then I'm gonna take a piece of 2x2 square tubing that's 1/4 inch wall, and I'm gonna stick up in here, and it'll make the new front of this, and it'll add a rectangular structure to the top of this, which will actually make it stronger than it ever was originally. Once we get that done, we're gonna have to, of course, follow these little cracks out wherever we got them, grind them out to a point where we could get 100% weld through them, weld up the little cracks. And basically I'll also take a piece of angle iron and come back over here to make a nice flat spot for to step up on. We'll probably add a D-ring to it so that in the future if someone wants to lift or something, there'll be somewhere to hook onto. One of the final things we'll have to do is repair that floor. We'll heat this up. We'll get the bucket turned over, we'll heat it up, and we'll pound these kind of where it's peeled under. We'll pound them back up as much as we can, get it flat, and do what welding we can. We might have to add a patch. We'll see. I might even just cut this out as a bigger hole and patch it in. But I'm gonna first try to kind of bring that one back to where it was originally. Okay, so up to this point, basically I used the C-clamps and those pieces of square tube to straighten the bucket out in the back there. And basically what I've done is once I got it where I wanted it, I've tacked it to stay in place in a couple of places so that when I cut this front edge off, I don't get some kind of weird movement, that everything is pretty straight from, you know, where we started here. So now what we'll be doing is cutting off the remainder of this step, probably trimming off some of this old weld, and then after that point we'll go ahead and cut off this front edge and see how our square tube fits in. Once we get the square tube fitting in the way we want it and we believe everything's straight the way it needs to be and get it tacked in here, we will come back to any of these cracks and grind them out once we've got it secured in other areas, and we'll grind it out so that we get 100% weld, and we'll probably do at that point, we'll go to 70-18 stick to weld this thing up. Better than, you know what I mean? we're at the point in this bucket repair that we're going to repair the floor of the bucket where they drove a breaker mold point through it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this heavy piece of steel and I'm going to tack it on this side of the bucket. Kind of use it if you're familiar with body work and people use a dolly while they're doing their body work. This is going to be my dolly basically. I'm going to tack it here and use it to reinforce this side of the bucket as we heat and pound back this back into position and see how good it gets, how close we can get it back. We're just about finished with this little project. We're gonna add an angle iron to the top rail of this to give a little more strength, but also we're adding it because basically I wanna add this D-ring to the front here for chaining down machines and for, you know, as you're working with the machine, you can use it for picking something, or I don't know, I always find the D-rings pretty handy. So we're gonna add this angle iron on there to give us a little more beefiness right here in this area, and then we're pretty much done with this bucket. we got this finished up. I'm pretty happy with it, the way it turned out. Basically, we reinforced that whole top with a 2x2 by 1/4 inch wall square tube. Chased out any of the little cracks that we found. Of course, we repaired the hole here in the bottom of the bucket and then put a little patch on the bottom side of that. In the end there, we added on this angle iron here in the middle to basically strengthen it even a little more, but also to give us a good solid point for that D-ring. Of course, again, we like adding the D-rings because it gives you a good tie down point, gives you a point to pick from if you're trying to pick something with a chain. Other than that, this bucket needs a bolt-on cutting edge, and if you really wanted to make it look like new, you would sandblast it and paint it. So, well guys, until the next project, we'll see you again.